Hello, hello. We are live. The technology
Yes,
works.
hello.
Hello, Catherine. How are you?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me. How are you, Heather?
I am so good. I'm so
Awesome.
excited. This is week
Yes,
two of the
yes.
series. Last week, we talked about that kind of fear of showing up and fear of rejection and failure. Go check it out. It's on Coffee in the Community on the Confidence Through Cabaret YouTube channel, or it's in
Mm-hmm.
the Confidence Through Cabaret community on Facebook, so you can find it. Um,
Yes.
and I'm so excited to have you here, Catherine. Do you want to just introduce yourself for anybody who didn't meet you last week?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This is so fun. So I'm Kathrin Niesel, and I'm a mindset coach, healer, and I help intuitive coaches and healers to really release all kinds of success blocks so that they can step up, acknowledge their greatness, express their awesomeness, and revitalize, so to say, their six-figure CEO mindset and can really create the financial independence they desire, and but most importantly, with joy and fun. This is really important for me.
Most
So
importantly, yeah,
yes,
because
yes,
otherwise, why would we do it?
yeah. It's about time that we debunk this myth like success has to be hard work only, and there's no time for ourselves or for joy and fun, because then what's the point of success? No one is interested in that kind of success, at least when you ask me.
Well, I think, like, my parents' generation certainly, and I grew up in Canada, but the idea of you do your schoolwork so that you can get a good job, so that you can go and have a job for life. That's
Mhm.
way gone.
Yeah, yeah.
And so this and then it was, well, we just have to work really hard and make lots of money, and then this whole concept of you know finding joy and celebration in our success is
Mhm.
fairly new, really.
Yeah, yeah. I
It
think
shouldn't
it's
be.
like partly from like women rising.
Mm.
This is where,
Yeah,
like, I think we are the initiators of this beautiful movement, so to say.
yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a lot of men out there too who are starting to be enabled to express their feminine energy, their intuition, their creativity, their vulnerability. And you can't have a successful business unless you are into that space.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And
Okay, so I'm so excited for today. And actually, so
yes,
this is week 2 of 3 weeks. So we have a third week next week as well,
yes,
where
yes.
we will be talking more about success. But we changed this week, or you changed this week's
Mm-hmm.
session or theme, because you felt that intuition that this would be ideal in this
Yeah,
series. And the topic that we're going to talk about today is the real reason why all the doing doesn't lead to the desired results, and why strategy won't help. So you can't, like, willpower your way through this.
well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I guess at some point maybe they will give in, the universe will give in and send you the clients, but no, willpower has never been the magic. The magic has always been your energy and your beliefs, and this is exactly what we will find out in today's live training, live session, and how it actually can show up, and what you can do right now to move on, to really release all this stuff that is keeping you blocked. So basically, last week we spoke about when we are still in this phase, or some of us are in this phase where we are not really able to take action, and what could blocking this. And I want to make this really loud and clear in case I forgot to mention this last week, because oftentimes we believe we are just not meant for success. And I hear now officially say everybody is meant for success. We are born successful, when you just have to look at little babies or toddlers. So it's whatever they want to achieve, whatever they set their mind, put their mind on, they achieve it. So it's just that we start doubting ourselves, sabotaging ourselves. And, and this week we want to look at something I feel like it's really important to shed some light on, because oftentimes what happens is, so we take all the action, we sign up for a business coaching, we are super pumped, and we take all the action, we show up live, we do what is required, but no one is reaching out to us. We are not signing the clients, we are not making the money we desire, we are not having the impact we want. Yeah. And and in today's live, I really want to show case why strategy won't be the answer, because this is actually something our kind of mind tends to lead us to. But we will get to this in a little while. And basically, after today's session, we will have an understanding, of what kind of symptoms actually could be indicators that this is something you really should take a look at, and also basically what the real reasons are, why, even though we take all the actions, the success doesn't come, the money doesn't come, the clients doesn't come, and what you can actually do to release those success barriers, because that's what they basically are. They are success barriers. So again, I would like to encourage anyone who's watching this either in live or in replay to leave your questions, so we can make this even more, interesting or fun, or, beneficial and valuable for you. And of course, this is a super safe space here in this group, but if you feel like you just don't want to share your question like openly, feel free to send me a DM. I'm happy to support you or answer your questions, so please don't hesitate to reach out and have a look at whatever is going on. So are we ready to get started? Do you have any questions or comments so far, Heather, or should I just...
No, I was just thinking, because I started my first business nearly 26 years ago, which I still have, which is corporate training and career and visibility coaching. And I never had any expectations. And I always had very high success, like 6-figure years from immediately. And things just came to me. And then when COVID hit and I couldn't travel globally and I couldn't bring large conferences together and all that stuff, I started Confidence Through Cabaret with some co-pioneers. And I think that's when my blocks either arose or appeared. Like, I don't know whether I developed new blocks, or whether I just didn't know I had them before, so I didn't acknowledge them. So I'm really excited to kind of hear about this and kind of figure out, where did those blocks start? And this is the perfect time of year. If you are, moving into your business planning for next year, if you are, because everybody starts doing this, right? They start doing okay, this is my target and this is my plan and all of that. And that's all doing, right? And it's like, and then people get pissed off when they can't do it. So this is so important. And I literally was just writing a post for later on in the week about this this morning, because I think, our whole planning has to start from that intuition and creativity and play and imagination. And I want to link that in with this time of year, because this is the time of year where little children, for a lot of us, are excited and imagining.
And there's all this magic is in the air. And
yeah. And that's why I'm so excited about this session today. And I'm so thankful that you are here, because I need to get into that. I haven't been doing my business planning, and I've said it on a few podcasts. People say, "Oh, have you done your business plan?" I can't. I'm not. No, because I'm not in that space yet.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited.
Yeah. I mean, I always like to do the planning I always like to combine, or not combine, but to do it from an intuitive place. So, and of course, this makes more sense when we are aware of certain blocks we might have, because it might come up as intuition but doesn't really lead to the success we desire. This is also something clients of mine have experienced. It was like, but it felt so good and aligned. But, when we are still kind of like convoluted with limiting beliefs, success blocks, money blocks, or whatever, it's not really the intuition that speaks, but the ego in disguise, so to say.
Oh, okay. Let's do this thing. I am so excited
Yes.
because I think
Okay.
that's where I am. I think I'm in ego in disguise and not in intuition. And I refuse to move into planning until I've sorted that out.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. And you know what? Because I have a little bit of a surprise. So let's get started and see what we will learn today. And if anyone has questions, please let me know. And of course, Heather, if you have any questions, always let me know. So why is it so important to bring, to shed some light on this topic, to bring attention to this topic? Because let's be really honest here. I feel that this is so important because there are just so many coaches out there, where I feel like, really? Because I know how it is when we do all the work, we hustle, we show up, we do the lives, we go on Instagram story, Facebook story, whatever it is, whatever platform we use, we send out the newsletters, and no one is reaching out to us. We are just not selling our products, our services, and it's just so frustrating. I mean, let's be real, it's kind of like tearing us apart. At least that's how it feels on the inside, and we start questioning ourselves. And that, of course, diminishes our confidence, which is one of the most important, basically the most ingredient when it comes to success. Like the mindset of a six-figure CEO is basically built on confidence, in various forms. But this would be a different life. And we also, of course, we pave our way to burnout, and that's not why we left corporate or our job to run into burnout with our own business. I mean, who wants that? And what I also experience and what my clients go through is when we are in this like kind of hamster wheel of constantly putting out content, constantly showing up, but nothing comes back. We also it's basically a pathway, a highway to, as I like to call it, a comparison city. And no one wants to go to comparison city because that's kind of like a never-ending kind of like rabbit hole we don't really want to get into, because that's just not good. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're actually really doing all the work, you're showing up, you're posting regularly and, doing the lives and whatever, and nothing is really happening, the income, the impact, the success is still a dream and hasn't turned into your reality, stay tuned, because then this is your training. So, and also, of course, please drop me a 1 in the comments if any of this already resonates with you. If you feel like, oh my God, yes, I have been there, or this is exactly where I am right now. I'm hustling and struggling and I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, but nothing is happening. So what happens oftentimes when we find ourselves in such a situation, in such a place, when we like do everything, oftentimes we believe, and this is a big one, especially for us women, we need to do more. We just need to do more. We just need to do more, and then of course we do it, because that's what we've been trained to believe, that success only comes from hard work, from hustling, from 24/7 on the gram, like hustling and grinding. And also, especially for us women, and this is also really important to recognize if this is something that resonates with you, is Oftentimes we women grew up with not only necessarily from our present family, but maybe from ancestral, like we inherited it through our DNA, that women just have to work really hard on jobs they don't like, you know, not really making any money. And if they make any money, it's really not that much, you know. So this is also something very typical for women. And another way we tend to handle these kind of situations. So the first two ways we try to handle is we do more because of, like this is how we believe society or success rules, or because of like limiting beliefs around being a woman. And the second way we try to handle or get out of this situation is, and I've spent a lot of money on 5 different business coachings, so I'm completely guilty for that one. We start looking for new business coachings. You know, you're still in your current one, and you might even have a great time and you might even love it, but you're like, ooh, but then I saw this coach who's offering like this like email sequence for better sales rates, or like the click funnel who makes it easy for 6-figure revenue each month, or all these really good sounding offers out there in the online world. I mean, who hasn't come across those freebies and whatnot? And, we get really kind of like, what could I book first, next? What could I book next? So I know I had these thoughts. I don't know. What about you, Heather? You already raised your arm. You also had this experience of like, oh yeah, maybe I just need a new business coaching.
Yeah, I definitely have been there, and I can still be. And last week in the first of our series, we talked about this whole kind of shiny object syndrome of, there's something else, the next, and I think it's a natural thing. Certainly, it feels natural for me when what I'm doing isn't working. I know the definition of insanity is to keep doing what I've done and expect a different result. So I'm not going to expect a different result by doing it more. So maybe somebody else can give me a solution. And I think it's not only, but especially women, we ask permission from someone else. So our coach says, do it this way. And then we go, oh, okay, that's how I do it. And we want the support. We're communal.
Yeah. I mean, like getting the support, I am all for that. I love being coached. I worked with 3 coaches at the time for different topics. I totally love that. However, I also really believe, and that is what I really help my clients to achieve, empowerment, because all the answers are within you. You do not need a strategy. And that is an example I will give later on. You do not need external strategies to guide you through the success, the impact, the financial independence you desire. The answers are all inside of you. And I have seen that, experienced that so many times already, and I've spent more than 25,000 euros on business coachings. So just, I've tried it all, so to say. So, and what happens, and I mean, Heather, you can chime in if you have more examples, but what we feel when we are in this, like, kind of like hamster wheel where we like, oh my God, I need to do more, or I need to find a different business coaching strategy solution. Many of us feel really overwhelmed, and completely stressed out, not only watching all these hour-long videos. I mean, I have access to some coachings where you have like 3-hour-long videos. Like, who has time for that? And also, then you have to implement and do all the homework, and like, really, and I'm still supposed to post and whatever. And so, and also what happens is we are confused, because maybe the new coach tells you stuff your old coach was like completely against, so it's like, what am I supposed to do now? And what I experienced at some point is like this feeling of helplessness, Like you have this deep passion inside of you. You know, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, this is what you're supposed to do. Like, you know that this is like, I just can feel it, but nothing is happening. Even though you've put so much money on the table, even though you show up, even though you do all the work, you know, and this really creates this feeling, this overwhelming feeling of helplessness. And I experienced this as a deep sadness, you know, having these gifts and talents and passion, but on the other side, there was like this empty table, so to say. And what also, and I'm not really proud to admit it, and I know from clients they have experienced the same, like this level of frustration, because why does this other person who has less experience, who has less certifications, who has less whatever less, you know, is celebrating one successful launch win, whatever, after another, while, you know, spending 4 months in Costa Rica learning to surf. And excuse my language, the asshole of the nation, hustling and struggling all day long, you know. And I remember how it felt, you know. And I remember, like, and I know, like, clients of mine have experienced that as well. And the worst of all, at least when you ask me, it's really when we start doubting whether or not we are actually meant to be successful, you know, and we start feeling like failures. Like, this is just the worst. And that's why I think it's so important that we talk about that topic. So I don't know, Heather, if you have experienced any of these emotions. I said, for sure, no, I did. And, you know, so did my clients, of course.
Yeah, I absolutely did. And especially because, as I told you, my first business, work just came to me. I just always had work. In fact, I had too much work. You know, I had hired all kinds of different people, you know, and so when I started online, I was like, but I'm still the same person. I've still got all the same stuff. I've still got you know, and I'm not competing against more people realistically.
No. And there's still enough clients out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's way more clients in ratio. Absolutely. It's better odds, really. But for me, it shows itself as a deep sense of sadness. And I think it shows itself up as doubt for me. Like,
yeah. Am I really meant to be successful? Am I really capable of doing this? Am I maybe too old? I mean, I just turned 46, you know, like, am I,
last Sunday.
Thank you. Am I too old? Am I not, you know, like, all these doubts start to kick in. Absolutely. Which is, of course, the worst thing that can happen, because confidence is so important.
Yeah, and it you know, confidence isn't one of those things where you get to a destination and then you're there and then you maintain it. No. It's one of those bumpy roads. It goes like that, up and down. So you know, in those times, that's where the dips get lower, and that's where we can really easily stay down in those dips for a lot longer.
Yeah.
And so that's why this conversation is so important, because, you know, it's about, you know, kind of getting the momentum to get back up the hill and not stay down in that valley and not keep sinking lower like sand.
Yeah. So it's always a good idea to just, you know, take a break, to be honest, because to really reconnect with oneself. And for me, what I find very powerful is reconnect with nature. If you have the possibility to go out in nature, this is always a great way to reset, so to say. And but what I really like to suggest, if you find yourself in such a situation where you really hustle and you do all the work and nothing is really working, and, you know, you do the offers and the sending out the newsletters and you're present on all these different platforms and blah blah blah, you know, I would suggest for you to do a really brutally honest self-reflection.
Oh, that sounds painful.
Yes. That's why
my ego is screaming right now.
Yes, there we go. And 3 areas you should or could start looking at, which is basically kind of like the starting point for a six-figure CEO mindset is, first of all, what do you believe about your abilities to help your clients achieve these amazing results in the online space, maybe specifically for you, Heather? Because you've switched, and I used to be an offline trainer. I also traveled the world. So I know it is very different to train people offline versus online, So what do you believe about your abilities that you can actually help your clients get the results they desire? And I know everybody out there says like, yeah, you're not responsible for the results. Well, of course, your client has to come along. Your client has to play along. It always takes two to tango. But if you don't believe in your abilities to actually, if the client plays along, if you have the ideal client, if you don't really believe in yourself, and this is really important to be brutally honest with yourself, because I used to have this shiny confidence, but on the inside there was nothing, So it's really important to really to kind of like push this maybe shiny confidence aside, the facade aside, and like, do I actually really believe that the tools I use or whatever are really as good as I make it seem on the outside? So this is a really good question where you can start, because otherwise, if you don't really believe in yourself, you are energetically not available. What that means is client can't see you. They just can't. And the next question you can ask yourself to really honestly self-reflect is, how do you actually feel about your offer? Do you really believe in your offer? Are you proud in your offer as it is right now? Do you love your offer? Like how much are you obsessed with your offer? Do you believe, I remember my old manager, she would always say, and I just use this phrase, do you believe your offer is the best since sliced bread? If you don't, why would anybody buy it?
Well, it's interesting because I have a business coach right now who is telling me you need to make this more about business and less, because I'm doing a lot of stuff around body confidence and stuff, which is you can't, it's what you're saying. You can't connect with your client if you're not showing up, if it's not coming from the inside, if it's a facade, there's a barrier.
Absolutely.
And you can't connect with you can't build the trust with your potential clients and so on. And she said, no, you need to make this more about business. Like, how much more can they get? What kind of results can they get? And I can't do it. I just can't.
What do you mean? Can you explain this a little bit further to me? What does that mean?
I don't want to drive. I don't want to make my offering simply because it will make you get 6 figures or 10K a month, or what. I want it to be. I want my offer to be something that's useful for my clients. Mm-hmm. Whether that impacts them because they feel beautiful or strong or worthy, those results will come. And my coach keeps saying, yes, but you have to tell them about those results that they're going to get. And you have to sell that. And I'm sort of saying, I really want to come from an inside space, and my intuition is screaming because my offer isn't about, money, 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 drive. It's about genuinely changing your beliefs and showing up and feeling beautiful, and the results will come.
Yeah.
And
I totally agree.
I'm so passionate about that and we're kind of fighting about it right now.
Yeah. So I personally believe that, and I'm really, really grateful for my coach who I work with, who told me, no, you don't have to tell them that they're going to make 10K or whatever, if you don't feel comfortable doing this, because in the end, it's not about the 10K, but, like about the confidence, showing up, presenting your offer, loving it, loving the work and all this. of course, you still will have to make it sound more juicy than just you step into your full potential, because that is just not that tangible. Let's be real.
Yeah,
But
and people
still,
won't spend money. Ironically, people won't spend money on that.
yeah, they don't, because the lack of self-love hinders us to spend money on that.
No, no, we're not
Yeah.
going to spend money on self-love. We're going to spend money on getting money.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's the irony is, if you want to make the dough, you have to love yourself. It's just like, that's just what you like. If I guess all the people who sign up for money manifestation courses, if they knew what they're signing up for, they probably would have just gotten themselves a Lewis Hay book.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really first of all, I believe no one should do what they don't feel aligned with, and if your coach can't show you a way how to make it sound juicy without using the 10K, or ask the universe. What I always do, if I'm like in a rut and I want an answer, I want inspiration, I'm like, okay, I'm open to see it differently. What can I do differently? That's always a great tip, and that always works for me, because then suddenly, yeah, of course, I could look at this from this perspective, or do it like this. So.
And do you meditate on that, or do you journal on that, or what's your personal preference?
This is also a great question. So thank you so much for asking it, because I love journaling. But what I have come to realize, and again, this is something I really empower my clients to explore, because I have also signed up with a coach who is like a total believer in journaling, and journal, and journal on these questions and journal on these prompts, which are all great. Don't get me wrong. But my intuition is in full speed, so to say, when I go for a walk. So the question, and also yoga, when I do my yoga, so, whether it's like, if you are the kind of person who gets hit by intuition hard when you journal, then do the journal. If you are the kind of person who gets hit by intuition when you do your swim, go for a swim, or when I don't know, whatever it is. For me, it's really, I'm going to the woods, I go for a walk, or not even, I can just like walk around my neighborhood. Or when I am on my yoga mat and do my yoga flow. The ideas are just popping out,
Yeah.
And also a great thing is I often like lay in bed at night, and then I'm like, okay, so who do I have to become to know this answer? What do I have to release? What do I have to know? What do I have to believe in to be able to present my offer in a way that feels completely aligned and speaks to my clients, in your case, for example, or I'm asking for, like, I want to have a perfect dream that shows me the solution, and I can still remember in the morning.
Yes.
That also works for me.
Yeah. It's interesting that, and I said that last week, I started journaling in the evenings, and then that has really shifted my dreams.
Yeah. Yeah, so I said, like, journaling is great to come back to your answer, but I'm all about empowering my clients, and if it doesn't feel aligned, then you will not believe in it, and then you won't be able to sell it. That's what I believe in, but I'm all about energies and mindset. So, and what I've also learned is, after working with so many different coaches, whatever it is you totally, completely believe in will come true for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why you have to go back to that first one of, what do you believe about your abilities?
Yeah.
If that's not right, then that's whatever it is. The answer to that, whether you ask the question or not, the answer to that is going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have seen that in such, like, and I'm going to talk about this client later on a little bit, but it's really like, whatever you really can get behind, whatever you really truly believe in, that will be your reality, and of course you can change your beliefs, but this is really, That's just what I've learned. So, and I also wanted to give a few more examples, when we do the self-reflection on your offer, on your abilities. And the last one you should also check in with is, I don't know if I've actually mentioned it already, whether or not there are enough clients out there who can benefit from your offer and who are willing and able to pay you upfront and in full. Do you actually believe that? If not, then this is something, you should realize and then work on. And, when you wonder, and sometimes our ego is so smart, or subconscious mind is so smart, then it's not so obvious to do the self-reflection that, it's really easy to understand these limiting beliefs maybe. And I just wanted to give a few more signs you could look for, which might be an indicator that you are not 100% aligned with, what you do and all these things I've just mentioned. So oftentimes what can happen is that you have this offer and there are, modules to it, and maybe stuff needs to be recorded and worksheets need to be typed and all these things, and you have it all in your head, but you resist. There's like this resistance of doing the work. Of course, this is called procrastination, but on the other side, you show up, you do the postings, you do all the work, but when it comes to actually working on your offer, it's just like not happening, So this could be a sign that you are not really 100% aligned with your offer, that you don't really believe in your offer so much. Another thing that could also be a sign that you are not really aligned with your abilities, with your offer, or that you believe that there are enough clients out there is you do the networking, you do have coffee chats and stuff, but even though your intuition might scream at you, talk about your offer, you're still not talking about your offer. Even though the other person might have actually wanted to hear about it, So again, that could be a sign, a very subtle sign, but this could be a sign that there's like a misalignment. Or also something is, so for example, the other day I had a special offer and I reached out to every single former client of mine, telling them, hey, or some people who at some point showed interest in working with me, but then whysoever decided otherwise. And I reached out to every single one of them, informing them about this offer. And I realized in that moment that this was such a CEO move, kind of six-figure CEO move, because 6 months ago, I wouldn't have done that, because I wouldn't have had the confidence back then. So again, like if you feel any sort of resistance, reaching out to people, letting them know of your current discounts, that could also be a sign. And also, and I don't know if anyone has experienced that, but if your clients write you the most amazing reviews, give you compliments for your work, but you're like, really? Are they talking about me? If these kinds of thoughts pop up, then clients give you, great reviews or comment or compliments on your work, then there might be some beliefs that are stopping you from letting the money and the clients come to you. And there are two more areas which I find to be really important to reflect on, and I promise that's going to be the last two. And this is a big one for women especially, and this is, do you actually allow yourself to receive?
Oh, I hate that one.
Yes, because it is such a natural thing for us women. This is what we do. This is what the feminine energy does. We receive and we create miracles. But because we have been so brainwashed over thousands of years that the feminine energy, the feminine qualities are just not good enough, that we have been trying to, only focus on the masculine energies and characteristics, which of course are available to us, that we have been neglecting the feminine part. I've switched side because the left side is the feminine side. So, and typical signs when we don't allow ourselves to receive, and, they don't have to all come together. But for example, if we don't allow ourselves to ask for help, everybody raise their hands if they don't allow themselves to ask for help. Yeah.
I do actually now, but
Yeah.
only because I have to, not because I want to.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean,
but I didn't for decades. I'm not kidding, struggled through stuff that when I tell the stories, people think I'm exaggerating or making it up, because I struggled through so much stuff, and I refused even to accept help when it was offered.
That would be my second point.
Oh!
When someone is offering you help, it's even like, no.
Why do we do that?
You rather run into a burnout, but asking or accepting help, I mean, this is like not your cup of tea. Very clear signs of a receiving block, of a potential receiving block. I don't want to put anything in your mind.
No, it's true. It's true.
I don't want to put anything in your mind. But what lessened it when you started your business, your offline business 26 years ago, you didn't care so much. You were just like, oh my God, I'm having so much fun. Let's just try this and see what happens. And then because there was no resistance to it, the clients would just come. And now there's probably a very different energy behind starting your online business, and different experiences and all this that have led to different beliefs and different energies around this, probably.
Yeah, I think it's the marketing, and it's business to consumer instead of business to business. So I'm really comfortable in the masculine energy.
Yeah.
Right. Really comfortable, which is why corporate suited me. It's not where I want to be, but it is what I know. And so that's why I know that there's ego going on here. Whereas with the online business, you can't have an online business and not check in with your vulnerabilities, and not check in with your beliefs and your mindset and your confidence and all of those things. I did not have to do that when I stayed in the masculine energy.
No, because you were surrounded by mainly men, most likely, and they have they just are different, and which is fine, which is great. Don't get me wrong. And so we adapted to it. So yeah, of course, it was all working for us in the corporate world. And this is the big shift. And especially, and now, how would you say this in English? And here comes the plot twist. So we are all soaked up in this male energy. But maybe this is also true for you, Heather. We secretly don't really like men.
I enjoy being around men.
Yeah. I enjoy around being men as well, but I never could take them serious.
So I think for me, because I found it easy, because I knew how to play that game.
See, there you go, because you know exactly how they work, and this is exactly what I mean. I couldn't take them serious. Men are like, we are the strong gender. Yeah, but when we wear like kind of like a bit of a cleavage, you lose all your concentration and can't focus anymore, and you call yourself strong. So that's what I mean with like, we dive into the male energy, but we have some sort of judgment about man, not the male energy necessarily, but man. So and this is also creates a contrast.
Patriarchy more than the men. So for me, it's like, and I know that's the essence of what you're talking about. For me, having been out of the corporate world now for a couple of years with COVID, I see it differently. And once you see something, you can't unsee it.
Mm-hmm.
So now I feel like going back into that world exclusively means that I have to be in a system designed by men for men where I'm only included because it's a requirement. I'm also aware that, and it is slightly different culturally in different places, but for the most part, that as I get older, I start to be seen as more of a dinosaur. Whereas if I was a male, again, hugely generalizing, nothing, this isn't a man bashing session, but if it's a man, then they have more wisdom. If it's a woman, then they can become obsolete more quickly. And I'm very aware of that, which I wasn't before, because I
Yeah.
didn't tap into that feminine energy and I didn't check in with all of those things because I didn't need to, because I was
Yeah.
flowing in the
And
male
and
energy.
and the question is, what kind of beliefs does this stir up, which you weren't even aware of?
Yeah, and now
You know?
now they're stirred, all the dust is up in the air. I can't unsee it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me just go through. Do I have any more typical signs of when we don't allow ourselves to receive? Yeah. That's also a good one. No one can do it as good as I can. That's also a biggie. Yeah. And of course, which comes with their twin sister, I know everything. I know everything. And of course, I know it better. You know, this is basically a double wall building up against the stream of well-being. Like, well, I know everything, and no one can do it as good as I am. Basically, this is your official sign to the universe. Well, I don't want you. I don't want anything of you. Yeah, and we feel really uncomfortable when we receive a compliment or a present. Maybe it makes us cringe. That could also be a sign that we don't allow ourselves to receive. So for me, example, this was never a problem, but I always knew everything better, of course, you know. So which basically took me a year in my online business because I believed I wouldn't need a coach, or I couldn't afford. It was either I couldn't afford, I wouldn't need one, you know. And we also always want to take care of everything, and especially everyone, you know. So this is a big one, you know, next to the, like we're doing, like to the, hold on, you know, the reflecting about our abilities and the program and the clients, you know, do you actually allow yourself to receive? Could also lead to you taking all the action, but you actually don't get the results. And the last one I felt was really important to mention is, are you actually an energetic match to the money you would want to charge? Because same as you've just mentioned that your current coach tells you that you have to mention that they're going to make 10K or whatever they want you to do. Oftentimes what I've experienced is that coaches kind of gently push us to ask for prices we don't really feel comfortable, you know, but we actually really would like to get it because it sounds so good. But if you are not an energetic match to that number, it cannot come to you. Yeah. So, and the thing is, you know, oftentimes money blocks can be really hidden. I mean, you know, it's easy to hear about the obvious, such as like, oh, money is evil, and or I'm not worthy, or stuff like that. But then there's also the very specific individual money blocks that you have because you grew up in a certain in a certain reality. You know, for example, my mom, she was born in post-war Germany in 47, so she had a very special experience growing up in a completely destructive country, you know, with all this shame, and let's not get into this topic. But I grew up with a mother who had like 10 saving accounts, you know, like a little vault underneath, hidden somewhere. And whenever it was about to, like, I don't know, maybe get 20 D marks for something which is like 10 euros, which is like, I don't know, $12. I mean, back in the 80s, you know, it was such an undertaking to get this money. So I formed the belief that money is just not accessible, you know, and that it's really hard to get by. And obviously, I cannot be trusted with it, you know. But this was such a random belief, you know. So it's really important to really dig deep into what do I believe about money from the reality I grew up in. So it's not like just like these big ones, these obvious ones, oh, I'm not worthy or I don't deserve it, but like, what is the reality you grew up in? What did you learn about money in relationship to being a woman, to being a successful woman, and in general, you know? So, and of course, then I think last week in the video, I gave a tool on how you can then take these beliefs and rephrase them. And actually, and I just now want to give you an example, because like I work with clients basically on the whole spectrum of building their business. I have a client, when we started working, she didn't even know what kind of business she wanted to do. She only knew that she wanted to do a business. But I also worked with clients who already had like 5-figure launches. And this is actually like my client Christina, who already had a successful 5-figure launch. But after she deducted all the costs, she had spent 15,000 euros on Facebook ads. She had spent an additional $4,000 on a coach, a business coach, to specifically coach her on that launch. And after, you know, like doing the math, she came out with a profit of 8,000 euros, which is, doesn't, you know, 8,000 euros is 8,000 euros. But when you consider that 2,000 women had signed up for her 5-day challenge for a program of 700 euros, 8,000 euros is actually not that much, considering she spent 15,000 euros on her Facebook ads. And I knew her because we had signed up for the same coaching program, a very male, masculine kind of coaching program back in the day. So we knew each other, and she knew about what I was doing. And so she contacted me. And I remember specifically when she said to me, like, you know what, I'm 100% certain after this result that I have limiting beliefs that block me, that block the money, that hinder the clients to come to me. And she was so, and you know, she believed so much in her work that she was like, I don't want to accept this any longer. This has to stop, you know, because the work I do is so important, and I just want more people to reach it. So we started working together in our first healing trance. We really looked at her money beliefs. So she had actually inherited money. So she was kind of well off financially, but she didn't feel worthy of it. When you would see her on the streets, she kind of had the resemblance of like rather like a, I don't want to say bag lady, but of a person of kind of like the most shabbiest clothes, the oldest phone. Like really, you would never think that this woman owns like a city apartment worth $500,000 in Berlin, you know, when you saw her on the streets. So we really worked on these limiting beliefs around not being worthy for the money. And then in a second healing trance, we looked, because she would always put all this pressure on herself to be successful, because she inherited this money from her very successful grandfather, you know. And then we looked at this, and what we found out was that this was actually not her own pressure, but her mother's pressure, because she always felt like a failure, you know, and she kind of took it on. So, of course, we released it on a subconscious level, on the energetic level. And just after working together 1 month, she, out of the blue, 2 one-on-one clients signed up with her, and she made an additional 4,000 euros, you know. And then the next month, she just followed an intuitive idea, didn't procrastinate as she usually would. And she made, I'm not really sure about what she made, but she launched this new program, which was like a kind of like an entry program. And she made like a couple of thousand euros. But then the big bang actually came. She had this like high ticket program for 6,000 euros per client. And she never felt ready. She never felt confident of putting it out there. And then someday she just followed her intuition. And this is really the best part about it, why I strongly believe, and I followed her journey ever since. Strategy is really just, if at all, the icing on the cake. She basically, a 6,000 euro ticket program, emailed clients. She felt like that this would be the perfect program to, keep on working on. And she sold out all 6 spots by just emailing them and then getting into conversations with them.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
she couldn't have done if she didn't clear those blocks.
No. And this was for me just like so. And there's even, it's in German, the interview, because she's Austrian, I'm German. So it's on my site somewhere, the interview about this, And so it was never about another strategy. We worked on her confidence around her offer, around her abilities, around her clients, that, we did all that. But there was no hustle, no struggle, nothing. It was just like, oh, I have this great idea, which feels really good. Yeah, let's do it. I love working on this idea because it feels so exciting. Boom, And this is exactly what my program, the Clear Method, does. And it's really designed to release any kind of success blocks, any kind of money blocks, so that we can really easily access this 6-figure CEO mindset, and this like confidence, and really recognize the intuitive nudges, the ideas, and really take the aligned action to create this financial desire, independence we desire. And we deserve, which is way more like, this is such an important mindset shift. It's not only what we desire, but we actually deserve it. And that's basically, and the best part about my Clear Message is that it's really adaptable to where you are, So it goes from like working on for 2 months together to all the way to 6 months, depending on where you are in your journey. And of course, I totally love it because
of course you do. So what is involved in your program? So there's hypnosis.
Yeah. So there's healing trance hypnosis. So I'm trained RTT hypnotist, and I'm also a Reiki master. So it's infused with healing energies, and I also am a shamanic practitioner. So depending on what comes up, we sometimes also use shamanic techniques. And there is, depending on my client's need, because as I've mentioned earlier, for me, it's really all about empowerment. And this is also what the hypnosis really is all about, showing you all the answers are inside of you, whether it's strategic answers or like, why am I blocking myself? And this also comes with 12 coaching sessions. Depending on, the length of the program. And then also a series which I call the Elements of Success, because I've studied successful people intensely, and there are certain aspects to a successful person, which I've basically made this whole series about, which already is just pure gold. And also, having been a trainer for self-leadership, self-management, I have been dabbling in mindset, like how to really use, or what are the best mindset tools, put it this way, from the spiritual aspects. I'm a big Abraham Hicks fan, but also, like from scientific perspective. So I've put together a kind of like a module, like really powerful mindset tools. It also comes with breathing exercises, because what can I say? I'm a yogi, I absolutely believe in the power of breath to calm the nervous system, to really release stress, and especially to release blocks, energetic blocks. And this is also something I absolutely am in love and amazed in. I also help my clients use really simple, energetic exercises to get the energies, we work with the meridians and stuff to really get the natural joy within us to flow, and this really helps us also. And we work with the chakras. Of course, I'm a yogi, what can I say? That really help us to release stuck energy and also beliefs even faster. So basically, it's not only a business program, but it's a life-changing program.
Yeah.
And that's basically, and the surprise I've mentioned in the beginning, because if this is something you're interested in, and if you feel like, yes, I want to release whatever's holding me back, I want to start 2020, and make it my year, let's have a chat, send me a DM. And because I have a special surprise for all the members of the Confidence Through Cabaret Facebook group, which is basically a special prize which came to me when I was preparing today's session. So depending on which option you choose, you will get a special Confidence Through Cabaret prize. Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity to be live in this group, which is awesome. So basically, if you feel like this resonates with you and this is something you're interested in, just send me a DM and let's have a chat. And just to make it clear, there's no expectation. It's basically just like Heather when she started her offline business. I'm like, there are no expectations. I'm just having the best times, and you will really understand where you are in your business, what is holding you back, and what you can do right now to release whatever's blocking you, whether or not you decide to work with me.
Beautiful. 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 Thank you for offering that.
Of
I'm
course.
just going to add the, so Facebook is hello.Kathrin Niesel, and Instagram is Kathrin Niesel. So you can find Kathrin also in the Confidence Cabaret community. So you can always message under this video, or if you check out the members in the community, then you'll be able to get the details from there as well. So reach out. It's only a call, right? It doesn't cost you anything to have a call conversation and see if that's right.
Absolutely. And also, maybe you have some questions, and I'm always happy, because for me, it's really about supporting and empowering women. Like, for me, this is really my mission, like my life mission. And if we feel like, because it's very important for me to make this also really clear, and I encourage my clients to do that as well, not to just work with any client, but with a client you really feel aligned with.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there's nothing worse than to work with clients who feel like a drag, who don't do the work, who don't show up, who are not committed. It's just not.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, energetically, that's too draining for you. If we choose not to change, we won't. It's the same with hypnosis. If we choose not to go into that state, we won't, right? So we can put up those blocks. I mean,
if you, I read it somewhere. If you're not ready to release your past, there's nothing I can do for you.
No. And it's that, and it's these conversations where you've given us so many different symptoms or things to look out for, or things to kind of resonate with and journal or reflect or meditate on. And if that's speaking to you and you're sort of saying, yeah, I see this now, yeah, you could probably clear the blocks yourself with a lot of journaling and meditation. I don't know how long that would take. I don't know how effective that would be. I'm not a yogi, but there's a point in doing this, right? If kind of having somebody guide you, but it's got to be the right person.
Well, the thing is, and thanks for bringing this up, Heather, because what happens, and like nowadays, trauma is such a buzzword. But I remember, I'm 46 now. I was born in the 70s, and I only understood that I was traumatized when I actually started my own business. So, not saying that everybody is traumatized, but the chances are high. Let's put it
Yeah.
this way.
Yeah.
Because a trauma doesn't, or being traumatized doesn't mean that you had to go through physical abuse or sexual abuse or like traumatic experiences. But maybe, you had parents who fought a lot,
Mhm.
can lead to trauma and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And a trauma sits in your body. So even if you don't have access to your subconscious mind, your guiding systems, aka your emotions, will be able to tell you whether or not you feel aligned with your offer, if you believe in the clients, if you feel like a kind of weird, itchy, not good feeling in your body when you go into self-reflection. You might not come up with beliefs around it, but your body will tell you, because your body was always present all your life. And this is the part of the belief. Let's just call it belief for a moment. You cannot release with journaling. You cannot release with, meditating. Well, I mean, meditation is pretty powerful, but you cannot release with affirming or journaling all day long. And believe me, I've tried.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've tried.
Yeah.
Because I started to use positive affirmation in 2011. No, that's not correct. I think it must have been 2008 when I did an online course on the secret of the golden metrics, or something like that it was called. Where I started to dabble into positive thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be an entire life's work just sitting and doing that, and then you wouldn't get to do the things that you released the blog for. So yeah. So how to tell whether it is your ego in disguise or your intuition?
Well, so the intuition, thank you for asking this, bringing it back up. So basically, the desire within you to do whatever it is you desire to build, to create, comes from your higher self, your soul, whatever you want to call it. And so the intuition, and I always say, like, the intuition will guide you on the shortest and most direct and most easiest way for you to reach that goal. However, of course, if a lot of releasing has to be done, a releasing of trauma or whatever, then, this fastest way can still be like 2 or 3 years if you don't have guidance, and put it this way. However, if you have this like ego in disguise kind of situation, and you follow these intuitive ideas, and you don't feel like you're releasing any trauma, and also don't get the results, it's basically the ego in disguise. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's only to keep you busy, oftentimes it's these amazing ideas. So let me give you an example. I once had, like, while I was meditating, I suddenly had this amazing idea of like, oh yeah, let me do a quiz for people to find out what is blocking them success-wise. And then I had this one forum, and I was like, hey, has anyone experienced with quizzes? And they're like, yeah, it's awesome, blah blah blah. And I spent extra money for the add-on for my work, for my WordPress homepage. I spent money on that. I spent tons of time on researching, looking how to set up a quiz, how to do this, how to do that. I eventually, after doing a lot of back and forth communication with the support team, had finally set it up. I would promote it constantly. I don't know. In a lifespan of I don't know how many weeks, maybe 10 people have done the quiz. So this is a very typical, it kept me busy because I wasn't able to do money making activities because I was so busy setting up the quiz instead of like building my community, building trustworthy relationships, offering my services.
Yeah. I've done a lot of that.
Yeah.
And some of it has been wonderful, and I'm thankful for it. For example, my podcast, I never planned to start a podcast, and then it started, and I just put it out there. But I spent a lot of time at the front end doing that. And
Yeah.
it was never going to be about money making. And I guess there's a difference between that bit about, but there was something inside of me that was driving me in that direction versus that bit of, just really busy actions that really aren't leading to the results that I want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, doing the quiz was also, like it was basically people to sign up for my email list.
Yeah.
But again, it's and so basically, if it's like the ego in disguise, these are mostly ideas that will keep you busy, 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 and they don't bring the results you desired if you actually go through with them.
Right. That makes sense.
Uh.
Yeah.
So if this happens a lot, if you get a lot of like, oh my God, this is such an awesome idea, and you start working on them, and then the results don't show up, it's the ego in disguise. Or, and this is a very typical success block, aka ego in disguise, is you have like these amazing ideas. I once had a client, she was like, I can't help it. Like I work on this project, which sounded so fascinating in the beginning, and I start working on it and I put everything in. And then it's like always on the last third, on the last leg, when it's about to finish, suddenly this new idea arises within me and I just can't help it. It's like, she really described it's like someone is pulling me and I'm dropping the one I'm currently working on, even though it's close to finished, and I start a new one.
In there.
Yeah. That is a typical ego in disguise, keeping you busy, but never succeeding.
Okay, so is there a way to recognize that ego disguise before you go to doing all the quiz and setup and expense and effort and time and all of that? Is there a way to recognize that at source to say this is ego disguise or this is intuition?
Well, that is a great question. Let me think about this for a moment. Well, I think one for sure would be experience. If this is something, if you have already experienced that you have been starting, like jumping from one project to another, if this is something you already know about yourself in general, I'd be like, hold on, another idea. So if this is, and again, this takes honest and brutally self-reflection, which is not an easy thing if we have a very strong ego. So this would be some based on your experience you've had. Let me see if something else comes up. Well, here's the thing. If your intuition sent you an idea, which will lead you to the results you desire, usually this idea will really kind of like opens you up, and excites you, but not necessarily only because of the financial output it might create, but just because of the joy of doing it. If it's like, if every aspect of it seems like joyous to you, then I would say it comes from your intuition. But if you have if it comes with doubts or hard work or hustle or just not good feelings, even though the idea in itself feels good, I don't know if this really makes sense, but then I would say it's an ego in disguise kind of situation.
Yeah, that makes sense. And actually that kind of answers my whole kind of podcast example, because there were no doubts. It just happened, and I've loved it, and it's been wonderful, and it hasn't yielded any results, but I had no expectations of that.
Yeah, and you basically probably, even when you had to do a lot of research and stuff, you just enjoyed the process.
Yeah, I actually didn't do any research.
Yeah, I mean, or whatever you
Yeah, but I
did,
know,
you
yeah, yeah,
know.
yeah. Because it was so easy. That's why I made that point. Is like, a lot of people will spend a year researching how to make a podcast, for example, and it's hard work, and it doesn't mean it's not worthwhile. I'm not trying to avoid hard work, but it was just so easy. It was like a river flowing as opposed to like
There you go.
dragging me or pushing me. It just happened so easily,
And
and
then
I
you
think
maybe also have situations or scenarios or examples where you also had like, oh, that sounds like a great idea, but it turned out to be such a drag.
yeah, I mean, I still believe I will do it. I have a very clear image of a magazine, and I know what I want it to do. I know how I want it to work, but I really don't want to do the work of producing it.
Yeah.
And so I know that that is my ego going, this is a really good business idea, and it would take a huge amount of work. And I don't
Yes.
think it would yield the results, certainly not right away, because these things never do. But I still believe I will do it, but it just feels there's so much resistance and doubt and effort that I don't want to put in.
Yeah.
That would be an example of ego for me, as opposed to the podcast that just happened and was wonderful, and I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. That's very interesting. Thank you for answering that. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Um,
You're so welcome.
and I love how we dressed the same. We have our red nail varnish and our red lipstick and our gray t-shirts. If you listen to
Yes.
this on audio, yes, we did not send out a memo, but it looks like we
No, we just happen to be in sync.
did.
And
Amazing.
let me just quickly talk about next week's topic.
Thank you.
Because next week, and this is such a big one, because it's basically we're going to talk about the fear of success. And this just sounds so ridiculous because this is what we do. This is why we chose to do this. This is why we like, it's of course I want to be successful, but it turns out there's a bunch of different kind of fears that either from this year it's going to be a bit more spiritual on the spiritual side, because we also going to dive into past life experiences or parallel lives, whatever you want to call it, which can actually cause fear of success, but also your body can be a really good sign to help you recognize that there's something going on.
I'm so up for this. I'm so up for this.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because I don't think it's one of those things, as you were talking about earlier, with the unconscious. I don't think it's one of those things that we're aware of, because that would be ridiculous. Of course, we want success.
Yeah. And what I really strongly believe in, it doesn't matter how rigorous you work on your money mindset. I mean, you wouldn't be able to be honest. But if you have fear of success,
it won't work. Interesting. Okay, I'm excited.
I mean, fear of success often comes up as like, we are not doing the work. But let's dive into deep next week.
I'm excited for that, because it so ties in with what we've been talking about here of, I just need to work more and work harder and do and spend more money and hire coaches and so I'd imagine there's lots of symptoms that are similar, but we will talk about that next week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna talk about crazy things that happened, because I think I'm gonna talk a little bit more about the power we actually, like the powerful creatures we actually are, and what our mind is capable of when we have certain fears we can not even comprehend.
Yeah. And it manifests itself in our body, and we hold on to that.
Yeah, not only in our body. Just
a
little teaser.
Energy.
My website was hacked. few days before I wanted to launch my first program.
Oh,
Like back in the days, you know,
yeah,
this is a
yeah,
long time ago. But I was like, I have this tiny little German website. Who cares?
yeah.
You know? But that's just one example of how powerful our minds are.
Wow. Okay,
Mhm.
I'm excited for next week. Tomorrow. I
Yes.
cannot wait. I cannot wait. Please share your comments. I know there's been a few of you kind of coming and going as we've been talking. Please share your comments. Any questions? Reach out to Kathrin if you want to. And let me just find the banner again. If you want to discuss anything, or if you know want more information, book a call and find out about working together.
Yes, don't be shy and just send me a DM. Let's have a chat. I'd be so happy to meet you and to just, you know, support you on whatever your journey is.
Thank you for letting us meet you. Thank you for sharing your work and your skills, knowledge, experience, insights, and so much energy. I really appreciate you.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for giving me this platform. And you guys, all of you who watched, and have a happy I don't know, how would you say this in English? A beautiful pre-Christmas time.
Holiday time, I guess it would be the closest.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so enjoy the
Absolutely.
holiday time. I already started eating lots of cookies. So enjoy.
Oh, thank you so much, Kathrin, for being here and for being available for us and sharing your light. I am Heather, and I'm reminding you that it is your body and it is your world and it is your stage. Show up. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.